welcome back. And I hope we did not take too long of a break, but I'm back here and I'm going to finish building out the still life. The next thing that I want to build for my still life is the actual wine bottle. And I'm going to do that once again with some quick little poly modeling techniques. But this time, since I want to be able to see this bottle, I'm going to bring this in as a background for my viewport. So the viewport that I'm going to bring this into I'm actually going to bring this into my front viewport. So I'm going to do this. I'm just going to minimize this real quick. So I'm going to come to this viewport and I'm going to hit the Alt and B key. So Alt B. It'll bring up my viewport background and I'm going to hit Files. And let's go to my desktop. Let's go in here. So desktop, still life, and wine bottle. So I'm going to choose the wine bottle, and we can see that this file is actually in the viewport for front, and I want to match the bitmap. So I want to match the bitmap, and I'm going to make it only for the active view only, and then hit OK. And then now, when I come in here, as you see, if I zoom out, you can see I have my wine bottle in here, and it's actually a pretty large wine bottle at this point. But what I'm going to do to this is, one, I'm going to hit G on the keyboard to deactivate, so I can deactivate the grid, so I can see that guy in there. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little ramekin plate and just move it off to the side. So what I want to do is, once again, I want to create. So I'm going to go back to my command panel, and I'm going to go to the create menu, and I'm going to go over here to geometry, and I want to create a cylinder. So I'm going to click on cylinder, come to the center of my world, drag the cylinder out, drag up some height, and kind of just cap that off. And to make sure that I do not continue to draw more cylinders, I'm going to hit Q to end process. And I'm going to look at this in my front view. So I'm going to move these viewports around a little bit. So in my front view, I'm going to hit the W key on my keyboard so that I can actually get my selection tool. I'm just going to drag this guy all the way down here to the bottom. Let's pull it over a little bit. I'm going to get my scale tool. I can hit, remember, I can hit R to get my scale tool. So I'm going to hit my scale tool, hit R and get my scale tool, and kind of scale this out to match the height of my wine bottle. So you can see right here, I have the height of my wine bottle kind of mapped out. Now, I want to come back in here. So in perspective, I'm going to zoom out on this guy in perspective. Another really cool way that you can zoom out is the zoom extends key. And to make your scene zoom out or zoom extend, you just hit the Z key on the keyboard. So Z will zoom extend. So with this zoomed out, I'm going to right click on that shape to get my quad menu to show up. I'm going to go to convert to, and I'm going to choose poly. And once again, you can see over here on the side, I have my editable poly is sitting in here. Now, the next thing I want to be able to do is manipulate these vertices once again. I'm going to show you a little bit of a trick, because right now I'm in the top level of my editable poly. So this is grayed out. If I hit the 1 key, that'll put me into vertex mode. So the 1 key on the keyboard will put me into vertex mode. The 2 key will put me into edge mode. The 3 key will put me into border mode. The 4 key will put me into polygon mode. And the 5 key will put me into element mode. And then the 6 key will actually put me right back into the top level of my object. So if I want to get to vertex mode, I just click on 1 and go into vertex mode. So once I'm in vertex mode, I'm going to grab these vertices, hit R to get my scale tool. Going to kind of scale this down some. Going to come in here and scale this down a little bit and scale this down. Remember, we can also maximize our viewport by hitting Alt and W. So I'm going to zoom in my viewport just so I can kind of see this a little bit better. And I think I'm going to take this, hit W and get my move tool. I think I'm going to move this up, get my scale tool, and then scale this in a little bit. And then also get this right here and scale that in. I'm going to grab this guy, hit W to get my move tool, and I'm going to move this up. And I think this is pretty good. I think overall this is really what I want. So I'm going to hit Z to zoom extend. And you can see if I have Z and I have like my vertex selected, it'll zoom into my vertexes. I'm going to hit 6 so I go back to the top level, and then I'm going to hit zoom extend again. And you can see since my whole entire object was selected, it zoomed out on my whole object. So one thing I need to do, and I didn't really realize this before, but I need to add a little piece right here for the cap at the top. So I'm going to hit Alt W to zoom back in, and I'm going to go into edge mode. So I'm going to hit 2 on the keyboard, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here into my panel for my edges, and I'm going to turn on the slice plane. I'm going to move this slice plane up to right about here, and then I'm going to click on slice. I'm going to move this down to right about here, and then I'm going to click on again slice, and then turn off my slice plane. I'll hit Alt W to unmaximize my viewport. Let's zoom in right here in my perspective viewport, and what I want to do, I want to come in here, so I'm going to hit 4 on the keyboard to go into polygon mode and select all these polygons right here. And what I'm going to do with these guys is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to bevel them. So down here in my edit polygons, I'm going to say bevel. It's going to bring out my tool, and I can change this, because remember we can change how this works. So I want to bring this back up to where it's supposed to be. I'm going to push this down just a little bit, and then instead of hitting the checkbox, I'm going to hit the apply and continue, because I want to do this again. We're going to outline this, and we're going to push this just like that. And I want to say apply. With that still selected, I'm going to get my scale tool and scale it from the center. So I'm going to scale this out from the center. And we can see, when I scale this out from the center, you can see what I have in there. And I'm going to scale this down on Z. See how this looks when I scale this out a little bit. Actually, I think we got a little bit of a hiccup here. I'm going to undo this for a second. I'm going to hit Command Z, Control Z, Control Z. I'm going to go back. It looks like something got a little messed up. I'm going to use my extrude tool instead of my bevel this time and see if it was just that. So I'm going to extrude this, put this back at 0, and I'm going to change this from being an actual group and do it to local normal. And the local normals actually go out. There we go. Now it's doing what I want it to. So I changed the extrusion type. So right here I changed it from being group to local normal, because each one of these polygons has a facing direction. So the direction that it's facing out is the normal direction. So by putting this on the normal direction, it actually is going to push them out from the angle that they are pointing towards. So now that I've got that extruded, I'm just going to go in here and hit the checkbox, and let's zoom out really quick. Let's make sure we don't have anything else. I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to maximize my perspective for a second just so I can see it. The bottom of this, I want to select this bottom, and I'm going to do a bevel on this bottom. And I'm going to leave this as group. I'm going to change the height, kind of bevel this out, bring the height of this down, and then change the outline. By changing the outline, it'll give me a little bit of a bevel, which is really what I want. And then I'm going to hit apply and continue, because I want to do this again. I want to bring the outline in, and when I take the height a little bit negative, because most wine bottles have that kind of cup at the very bottom of it. Once I get that, I'm going to come in here and hit apply. So now, if I zoom out, so I can hit 6 to go to the top level, and hit Z to zoom extend out. So when I look at this, I've got a wine bottle. And in the next part of this, we're actually going to next thing we're going to do is build out our little wine glass, because you can't have a complete scene without a wine glass and a wine bottle. I mean, you just can't. So in our next video, we're going to deal with tackling the wine glass. See you right after this.